All right, everyone. Welcome to our April. It is still April, right? Time be going by so fast. Welcome to our April DC Buzz. All right, I'm your host, Ronald Dills II. Most of you hopefully remember me from Project and Portfolio One, as well as Project One and Project and Portfolio One. Excuse me. My co-host is Mr. Alan Harris himself. Also from those courses and various other courses. And then we want to introduce our distinguished guest, Bruce Mclntyre, who is a recent DC grad, mentor, freelance cinematographer, as well as photographer. In this interview, we expect to learn a lot of great things from Bruce, right? We want to hear about, of course, his experience with the Digital Cinematography Program, his experience being a mentor in our Digital Cinematography Mentor Program, how he prepared for graduation, and how do we prepare for life after Full Sail, right? There's some really great key points there. Welcome, Bruce. Welcome.
Thank you.
Thank you so much for being here. So we're going to jump right in because I'm sure, our students will have a lot of questions. So Bruce, tell us what originally encouraged you to come to Full Sail. I know we were talking about you studying photography. It was almost pretty much right around the same time too, if I believe. So what encouraged you to come to Full Sail University originally?
Well, I've always been interested in film and cameras and anything that they have to do with them. I took my first photography class back in junior high school before most of you guys were even born. In high school, my friends and I actually made a film, an 8mm film, for one of our classes. And after high school, I went a totally different path. The custodian of that film actually became an animation director. He worked for Disney, has an Oscar from Disney, and I think he went to Sony, and I don't know where he's at now. But I went in the military. And while I was on active duty, I earned a bachelor's degree in business and history. But everywhere I traveled in the world, I carried a camera with me. I had a Pentax K1000 for, 13, 14 years before I dropped that one time, and it never worked again. I think I've dropped it off the back of a horse in the Philippines or something. Wow. But when I got out of the Navy, I'd already had a bachelor's degree in business and history, like I said. I ended up going to work for a Caterpillar dealership here in North Texas. And I started out as a recruiter and then moved into a training position. I taught electric power for almost 5 years. And then I became a training supervisor. The whole time I was at Caterpillar, though, I started working on my master's degree in photography. I wanted to really hone that craft. My wife and I, we travel a lot. I do a lot of landscape photography, a little bit of portraiture, but I really enjoy being out and taking pictures. So again, that desire and that the hobby of films, it followed me. And so I said, I have a master's. I still have a GI Bill of money. I'm going to use it. And I wanted to learn more. So my son-in-law actually was a student at Full Sail before me. And I followed him. And then, of course, with credits from other courses, after my first class, I was 5 classes ahead of him. But it's great. I've learned a lot that I never thought I would. There's a lot more that goes into film than what we think, and it's phenomenal. It's great to be able to take that and grow.
Nice, man. I know you had some bragging rights, right, to jump ahead like that too.
Oh yeah.
Some great bragging rights. Tell us a little bit more about your experience as a student at Full Sail, especially being in an online program.
Well, for me, the online was great. When I signed up for Full Sail, I was no longer working for Caterpillar. I actually, during COVID, had, back it up. In the military, I spent 7 years with Spec War, and I bounced around on very fast, small boats for 7 years and screwed up my knees and back. during COVID, we were working from home, and my wife, she's high risk, so we were going to go out to California and help my parents and her mom do some work around their houses, and we wanted to do it the safest way possible because she was high risk. And so we drove out, and we were in Carson City, Nevada, and we were hit head on. Totaled my F-250 and tweaked my lower back. So my legs go numb every now and then when I'm standing too long. And so I left Caterpillar for that reason, because teaching electric power, we taught on live systems. And I didn't need to be standing in front of a 15,000 volt system and have my legs give out. Right. It would make for a very interesting class, and I didn't want to be that guy.
Right.
So I had the advantage of not working when I started with Full Sail, but the online atmosphere for me was perfect because my previous bachelor's degree and my master's were also done online. And I love it. I love that. To me, everybody, it's self-discipline. You have to be able to drive yourself to do it and get things done on time. And for me, on time is 2 days early. So.
Right. Yeah, I remember prior to Full Sail, when I was studying at the University of Florida, the online courses, because I was more so going to lectures then, it was tough for me to sit there and focus for an online course. So yeah, it's great when I came to Full Sail and was able to do that later. It definitely made it easier when you have something that you're very passionate about. But what set you up for success as you prepared for each course?
Again, it would have to be that drive. I was always a poor student in high school and previous, I can't say in college. I mean, I want to say when I got my first degree, I was probably a mid B average all the way through it. I was a very strong B when I got my master's, but I told myself I was going to have an A average when I did this degree. And when I graduated, I had a 3.98 GPA. So that was my motivator. I wanted to have that. I wanted to be the valedictorian. I didn't make it. But I will say that one of my classmates, I met him at graduation. He and I were sizing each other up. We communicate. We both had 3.98 at that time. He got salutatorian. So.
Nice. Yeah, that was definitely love that story when you shared it with me before. What would you say was your favorite course in our program?
That one's a hard one because I enjoyed them all. Some a little less than others. I want to say after we got our cameras, and not necessarily, I mean, I liked Randy's class, but being able to take that camera and just grow with it, so anything that I was shooting and getting ready to edit, I think those were good classes. All the portfolio classes worked real well for me. Like I said, I wanted to have the strongest showing that I could. So I went into every class with an open mind. They were all great.
Awesome. Now you got to choose one. What would be the toughest?
I'm going to tell you, I will tell you the toughest and the one that one's an easy answer. Charlie Barrett, screenwriting was difficult, but I enjoyed it. I think his first Zoom meeting, he said, "I'm going to ruin movie watching for you forever." I challenged him on that one, and he did not. It actually prepared me for when I got to my film criticism course, because I really looked at things differently then. And in that class, I say Claude opened my eyes to some things, because I really didn't watch a whole lot of foreign films, but we did then. He gave us a lot of good directors to choose from. I had a tough time during his class because the month before, actually 2 weeks before the class started, my niece was killed by her husband. So the list of directors he gave us, I had to ask him for somebody that was not as violent, because the only name I knew at the time was Kurosawa, and I just didn't need that violence in my life at that time because of that situation. So he recommended somebody else, and it was great. I watched some phenomenal movies. I've never watched movies with subtitles before. Now I do. So
nice, man. Yeah, that's something there. something there. Now, what was more so exciting for me in the relationship that we built over the time that you were at Full Sail was when you joined the Mentor Program. And I remember you reaching out to me about the program, and I was like, I remember Bruce, so that was just, you were one of those students that I will remember, because you left a mark in the course. Tell us, what made you want to join that the Mentor Program?
I think because of my drive to do as well as I did, and it's a bar that I set personally in my life anyway. I wanted to be able to share that. When I talked to you, I think, I know when you and I interviewed, I was at Disney. That was, we were down there last August, September. Yeah. And I talked to you about being able to help people, guide them in the right direction. If they hit a snag somewhere, we're given those snags to test us anyway. And if we can have some help learning how to navigate it, then great. My experience being online for 3 degrees now, I felt that I had a little bit to share. So.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, that was very, very important. Now, Bruce, a lot of times our students, as you know, you were a student, either they don't know about the Mentor Program or they don't know how to reach out to the Mentor Program. How would you encourage students to use this resource if they're really in need of a mentor?
I think that, first off, we're listed on DCBS's the page. We are DCBS. And I know that's where people see us. It's the best way, I would say the time that I was a resource there, people emailed me. And don't be afraid to ask a question, even if it's a question that's just kind of obscure. Ask that question, because if the mentor can't answer it for you, the mentor is going to reach out to one of the instructors. And, even with your instructors, don't be afraid. I have in my phone book most of my instructors, because during classes, if they shared their phone number and I needed to get in touch with somebody, I was going to get in touch with somebody. I would say, actually, the time around when my niece was killed, I was in Andy Matthias's class, and he was posting the assets for us to edit a film. And this was on Frame.io. Well, the assets weren't coming over. So, I don't like to wait to get something going. I was sitting at my mother-in-law's house and I was calling Andy's phone. It was his office phone, but he returned the call. And then I shared it in the discussion with my classmates that, hey, he's fixing it now. Because the discussion was, why isn't this working? Why can't I download this? But I was the only one at the time that reached out to Andy. And, you gotta, if you got a question, you got to reach out, because if you can't fix it on your own, you're not going to be able to. Just ask the question. So, right, yes. And that's, the mentors can do what they can for you too. So.
Oh, yes, that's amazing. Yes, we're always trying to encourage, our students, and this is for all of our students. We're always trying to encourage, if you have a problem, maybe with one of your assignments or something, reach out to your instructor first, and they can always assist and try to help on their end. And then if that doesn't work, naturally, you have other resources like our department chair and department head, but always try to reach out to your instructor first about that issue. And then, that way we can also be in the line of communication with you and trying our best to help on our end. So that's very important. Bruce, what would you say if a student is, I'm considering being a mentor, what
I would say,
kind of words of advice?
Yeah. Go for it. It was a good experience. You get challenged right up front because you get to put a bio together. Yes. You get to film a little bit about yourself, and at that time you get to talk about yourself, because at the end of the program you get to film a video or a video resume, and so you're going to do it anyway. Do it, really do it. You get to put yourself out there, and it gives you a way to challenge yourself. So
Yes, that's awesome. That's awesome. And of course, you have to be interviewed by me, right? Wasn't that scary? I'm just playing. It's not scary.
Not scary. No, no. You know what was scary with your class? No,
Oh,
no. You had that. You had your trivia sessions, and it was
yes. Oh, yes.
because the first 2 weeks it was me and Ethan Kaufman back and
Yeah.
forth. And actually, I met Ethan at graduation. It was phenomenal. So it's good to meet these people.
Sweet,
Actually,
sweet.
we're on a text chain now. A bunch of us that were online students and came to the graduation. So
That's awesome. And as you see, everyone, Bruce is still in contact with his classmates, which I love. They're still networking and having those discussions. So the relationships don't just start here. They continue on and hopefully into, as you're working into the entertainment industry, as you move forward with your career. So Bruce, tell us, how did you prepare for graduation?
graduation. Well, for me, because I knew I was going to walk the stage this time. I didn't get to walk the stage when I got my first degree because I was stationed in South Texas and the college was up in Kansas. And being in the military, you gotta request time off first off, and they don't get paid the best. So, and at the time, we had two households. My wife was living in one state, and I was what's called a geographical bachelor living down in South Texas. The second one, COVID hit. So they canceled the graduation. And so I was determined I was going to graduation. So for first thing was planning was that trip. But for academically, I pushed myself to get everything done early because we actually graduated the 24th of March, but classes technically didn't end until the week following. But spring break was during that week. So I had to make sure before I got on the road, we left here on Wednesday, and I had to make sure all my assignments were turned in before I got on the road because I was not going to get down there and have to rush.
Right.
I mean, I had my computer with me. I had my portable hard drive that had all my assets on it. But I wanted to make sure. And then that last month, you're doing 2 classes. Not only you're doing your project class, you're doing career readiness. So
yeah. So it's really busy. Any other advice you can probably give to our students that are getting ready to graduate soon, to prepare themselves besides, knowing that information?
Enjoy what you're doing. That's a big thing. Have fun, because in that last month, it was a tough month because career readiness, you're putting together a resume. You are putting together or showing your website that you built previously. You're also sharing that in Port 7. I'm not going to give away Port 7 because you don't want to plan for that yet. I think that Steve would appreciate it if we didn't do that yet. But the last assignment is a video resume for a job posting that you find locally. And it's important to definitely plan accordingly. Again, 2 classes, those were tough classes to get done in basically 3.5 weeks for us. But I think that as long as you set a schedule, and that was the thing, the last guy I talked to on the mentor program, and I actually had already graduated. I told you this the other day. He emailed me about time management. My time management was as soon as everything opened, that opens up at, for here, 10:59 p.m. First thing Monday morning, I was going online and reviewing everything that was open. I was making a list of everything that was due, the dates. And then I put a date 2 days earlier for myself in my calendar to make sure that I had that done. I'd read all my assignments. If there are any videos to watch, I watched them. Discussions, it always drove me crazy when people waited until the last minute to post something, but you got to work with your classmates. Not everybody worked the way I did. Again, I set that bar up here, and I wanted to make sure that I was 2 days ahead of everything. But that's a big thing, is don't wait till the last minute. If you can get it done, get it done. If you need to fix something, you have time to fix it. So if you wait till the last minute, you don't have time to fix it.
Right. That's some great advice there. Bruce, were you able to connect with career development while you were here?
Well, in the last class, honestly, I actually had reached out. I forget which class it was. It may have been New Media Tools was the first time I did. And I was surfing different sites that they, may have been able to help me with. When I was on the road heading down for graduation, they called me and shared a couple of freelance sites to check out.
Yeah.
But one of your assignments is to reach out in that last career development class to them, or career readiness, I should say. And I talked with Sarah Peterson, shared my resume with her. Of course, she asked me to fix it this way. She shared a lot of good information on what the industry would want. I actually changed my resume to what she wanted. And I used that resume in the career development class or career readiness class. And they said, no, do it this way. So there's a little miscommunication within their offices, but they're good people to get in touch with. Definitely.
Yeah.
I think Sarah was one of the DCBS advisors, I guess, over there.
Okay, awesome. Yeah, it was a lot of interesting things going on during that time. I think we've recently was able to get those situations that were updated with the confusion with the resume. So
right,
that's smooth.
I think because Steve had mentioned it in class too in discussion that, hey, do it this way, and which was good because he had communicated with them, and I think he probably shared it with the department. So it was good.
Really good on that. Oh yeah, and that resume, the way that template that they used, for the various jobs, it's been set for years. Even when I was in that department, it was in place. So it really works. That's another great thing too. Like if you, for our students, make sure you're reaching out to career development, especially as you're getting close to graduation, because I remember when I was in the department, we also had a lot of gigs that were more geared towards our DCBS students who had their own package and what we call those predator shooters, because you're pretty much doing everything on your own. You have the gear, you have the editing software. And so a lot of companies, especially, I'm sure it still applies now, looking for students and graduates from our department that has that gear and ready to go. So it's always great to have that resource there and know that you have that available to you. Now, Bruce, what is your plan now that you've graduated from Full Sail University?
Well, I'm freelance, obviously. I'm not wanting to move west where a lot of people go, or Atlanta. Actually, next year we're moving down to Pensacola. But I'm going to be doing some freelance work. I did register with the Fort Worth Film Commission. I still shoot when I did my intern hours. I didn't join this church, but I still run a camera for them. So I'm getting camera time there. And I'm working on a documentary that I feel impassioned to do. When we were my first command back in 1983, we had a major fire, and I want to touch base with as many of my shipmates as I can and build a documentary around how that fire has affected them both that day and since. So
yeah, that's going to be a good one. I can't wait. Do you have any way that if students want to connect with you, they can, whether it's through social media or website or anything, Bruce?
Well, I had a website twice when I was in my master's program. But since I left work, I'm living off my Navy retirement. I let that lapse. But I am on Facebook, Bruce Mclntyre. There's Mclntyre Photography. My wife and I are both on that. And then, of course, if anyone wants to reach out via email or what have you, I'm available. I don't have any problems talking to people. As we were sitting here waiting for things to start, Justin had sent me a message. He lives just over in Frisco, not far.
Oh, wow.
Not far from here. I go over there to Round Table Pizza every now and then. asking, about getting together, maybe talking about the camera. He's got an FX6. I have, of course, an FS5, but I do have access to an FX6 because my son-in-law is currently deployed and I have his camera. So.
Wow. I'm like, you and Justin together, that's going to be epic already. Can see it, man.
And
that's cool.
And we've got two other people in Tarrant County who graduated with me. Over in North Richland Hills is Draven, and then in Boat Club area is Tiffany Neal. And Tiffany's husband graduated from Full Sail's music program or sound media program there.
Wow. So that's what it's all about, everyone. Just, of course, that networking, because naturally with our students, you have your gear and it's pretty much you're not necessarily have classmates that are always with you. So if you can reach out to some of your online classmates or some other graduates or students that are in your local area, that can be your crew that you start to build. You all can trust each other because you're from the same department as well. So that's the way to do if you can reach out and connect with other graduates and students that are in your area. All right. Now, are we ready to open the floor for questions? Any questions for Bruce? You can put them in the chat or you can raise your hand. Whatever works best, we can open the mic up for you. All right. Justin is up. All right. Let's see. Okay. There you go. Oh, sorry. I muted you, Justin. Sorry. I'm trying to unmute you and ended up muting you. There you go.
It's okay.
All right, Justin.
Good now?
Yes, we're good.
Fantastic. All right. So thank you both for putting this on. Appreciate you guys. I do want to jump on and ask you some specific questions at the tail end of your Full Sail journey, because that's almost where I'm at. I'm about a year shy of graduation. And, I've talked to a handful of people who graduated in the state of Florida. So they gave me the Florida perspective of what it's like to graduate. But obviously, since you and I are in the same neck of the woods, I wanted to ask you, what was your last 3 months like? Because all we're told by career development is, give us as much amount of work as you can so that we could vouch for you, so that we know who you are. So that way in the last 3 months, you're not just another name on a piece of paper. We actually go like, oh, hey, it's Bruce. We know Bruce kills it at this, and that. Therefore, let's single the jobs out for Bruce that we know he could tackle. So speak about those last 3 months and like what they did for you going forward, because that's really where I'm going to be at. So I want to know what it's like from that point of view.
Well, I didn't work as closely with career development those last 3 months. I concentrated on my classes, but I was networking. Like I said, I did join the Film Commission's list of crews available, and I'm willing to do just about anything with them. I've got a guy I network with at the church who, when I talked to him, he was going to help me on my last short when I was in Tommy Dennis's class. And the only thing is, he's a great guy, but he wanted to be DP. That was it. And I said, well, that's my job, but he did come in and give me some. He's a tech guru. So when I was having an issue with something, he was able to answer the questions for me, and we communicate however we can. Networking is important, whether it be somebody right here in the DFW area or somebody who's across the country. Yes, the school is located in Florida, but I will tell you that one of my classmates, actually 3 of my classmates, are up in Philadelphia, and we were all at the graduation together. Every one of them has told me they want to be freelance. And Greg, who I mentioned earlier, shot me a message on Facebook one day and said, hey, I'm going to send over a script. Can you look at it for me? So he sent it to me. We read it over. I made a few changes, sent it back. He's trying to propose a TV show right now. And so he's putting together a series of scripts. So getting those contacts, don't ever lose them. If you talk to these people, and if they're willing to share their contact with you, keep it. It's the best advice I could give. Building a network, even outside of class, like I said, the Film Commission. If I don't know if you saw Mansfield. The city of Mansfield is getting ready to build a studio. So my plan on that sense, even though I'm moving next year, is to get with their economic development director and find out what what direction they're going with it, and see if there's something I can do out there. So, Frisco's on the other side of town from Mansfield, but it'd be worth the drive to go down there if they've got work for you.
Yeah, and I know that we have multiple productions just within our city. The TV show The Chosen, they shoot that down in, of course, I'm going to forget the name of it as soon as I bring it up, but it's right near a town called Waxahachie, which is in Midlothian, Texas. That's where it's at. They shoot that show there, and it's now one of the most popular shows up there. Like, it's up there with Yellowstone.
Thanks.
And
the knockoff or the spinoff from Yellowstone's filmed in the stockyards. So
exactly, filmed in the stockyards and filmed over on West Fort Worth, basically all the way out there. So yeah, we have multiple opportunities out here, within our city. But did career development ever come after you? Well, I don't mean come after you, but did they ever tell you, hey, Bruce, there is a staff job at this company? No, I know a few companies off the top of my head.
They send me, getting on their email list, they send me a list every week of what jobs are out there. There aren't a lot that are local here. So finding them here, because it's who's advertising with the school. That's the list they have. So finding the jobs here is going to be a lot of legwork. I'm going to tell you that right now. I have an old officer recruiter, he's over here in Fort Worth. He and his partner are Wood Films. They do a lot of work with the local ballet. They do all the filming there. And I tried to do my internship with him, but because of the fact that I used to work for him in the Navy, it didn't work out. He didn't want me to do that. So I had to go another route. But there are some small production houses. Panasonic has a rental house, I think it's in Plano. So, if you want to get into at least getting into some gear, they're over there. So.
Perfect. Because right now, I'm freelancing with production companies right now. And I've been doing that since January. So yeah, the money has been coming to a certain extent, but I was curious how much of, not hand-holding, because I feel like that's almost like a slap in the face to career development, but how much leeway did they give you in terms of here are the good jobs versus here are the jobs we just hand out to everybody within a 50-mile radius? That's really what I was trying to get at. But
right.
No, I get what you're saying.
Right. Yeah. It's who advertises with the school. It's nothing on career development. They give us what they've got, so if people aren't advertising through career development, then they're not going to know. That's where it takes a little legwork.
Okay. Makes sense.
All right. We have Alan, you have someone that has a question on your end.
I do. We have Mirage via the chat asking, how did the perspective of the industry change from when you registered for the program versus when you finally graduated or now in the industry?
I don't think for me, it hasn't changed. I think seeing the full gamut of how we create instead of just seeing that small picture. I want to take this back to, again, before most of y'all were born. When my friends and I made the film in high school, we all sat down and we said, this is what we're going to do. And it was a parody, actually a parody of a Monty Python film, which is kind of crazy. But we all kind of collaborated, and if we weren't in front of the camera, somebody was grabbing the camera and running it. Only one person did the editing because it was his parents' camera. But, seeing that little picture and then growing to what we get in school has given me, I guess, a better idea of what we are required or what we need to do. It gives me an idea. Do I want to do, just pocket myself into one part of the field, or do I want to do a lot of different things? I didn't think, well, let me back up. When I take a picture, a still picture, I try and edit my shot before I take it. After going through this program, I have no problem sitting in front of the computer and editing. I love it because then I get to put my spin on it a little bit. And I still try and capture it in camera. But, you know, when we had to do color correcting, I didn't like that because I liked what was already there. But we still had to make an adjustment for part of our grade. So learning that whole gamut and every aspect of what it takes from story to final cut is something that I really enjoyed. It's kind of weird. My last short, my wife and I, when I found out we had to do it, I brainstormed and I was bouncing ideas off the wall, and some of them I was throwing away because I don't get into dark stuff. But we were sitting out in the backyard one day, and I threw an idea on the table, and we talked it out. And then next thing I know, I'm typing it up. So having that, you know, I would have struggled if I had to make these ideas up in my head and do it by myself. So having that collaboration, even with my wife, who is a great storyteller, you know, we're able to get that from start to finish. So I hope that answered the question. Or did I confuse you?
No, it was
I
great.
might be
Thank
confused.
you. Yeah, I appreciate it. Thank you so much. Collaboration is wonderful.
Awesome. Awesome. Any other questions in the chat that I missed, Alan?
Yeah, we also have one from Juliet, which is, have you experienced any ageism while you're traveling around in the film industry so far?
Well, because I just graduated last month, I'm not traveling in that sense. I'm local, but honestly, I don't think it's going to be an issue because I do have my drive that I need to prove to people who I am. Yeah, I'm going to be 60 next month or month after next. But if somebody were to come to me, and I'll tell you, I walked out of an interview when I first got out of the Navy because the guy looked at me and said, "You're obviously older than everybody here in the plant. Could you work for us?" And I walked out. So if somebody's got that attitude, they don't know me and they want to just judge me on the gray hair and wrinkles, then they've got the problem, not me. So I haven't experienced it yet other than that one interview. So, and I know it's not legal for them to ask that question. So
I'm still trying to figure out what wrinkles are you talking about. I ain't never seen no wrinkles.
they're there. And the big old scar right here too.
See, I think this might be the next question. Alan, correct me if I'm wrong. Have you tried, from Joseph, have you tried a traveling style documentary?
Well, that's one of the things because it's in the well, where'd my book go? Oh, right here in front of me. I keep this book. This is ideas, and I do keep them down there because I enjoyed making my mini documentary. It was probably one of the better products that I put out until my last class, and I did a really sharp how-to. But the documentary idea, I love it. I love documentaries. I watch them all the time. I want to do this first one because I'm passionate about that day. And, you know, I did 26 years in the Navy. And that day stuck with me. You know, I was a 19-year-old kid, and it just, you know, I spent 36 hours on a switchboard because of this fire. I want to tell that story, not just my part of it, but the shipmates who are willing to talk to me. And I will be traveling around, obviously, to meet with them as soon as I get funding. But travel documentaries are something that I would love to get into also. We travel quite a bit. We have a small RV that we go around in. Actually, when I was in Ron's class, I was up in New Hampshire in my RV. So we like to do that. And if I could share my experiences and give people some good ideas on that, it'd be great. Oh, I think I lost you, Ron.
Ron, you're muted.
All right. I'm talking and I muted myself. I apologize, everyone. I had a great question. No, but wasn't your instructional video on the RV, if I'm not mistaken? I can't remember.
My first instructional video was on the weight compensating hitch, on how to hook it up properly.
That's what yes.
But we don't have that one anymore, because that hitch weighs about the hitch itself weighed right at 100 pounds. And since the accident, my back, I can't be lifting 100 pounds like that on a regular basis. So now we have a little pop-up trailer, and it just uses a standard hitch, which is nice.
Nice. Awesome.
Yeah.
Alan, next question.
This is from Orlando, and he wants to talk about kind of maybe some of the rejection that you might have had near the beginning of your career with film. So have you had any of that?
Not yet, other than my old officer recruiter not letting me come to work with them for that. Well, I guess several people at that point, when I was trying to get that the intern hours in, I was calling so many different people. And another one for Justin, there's a guy up in Oklahoma with a small production company that makes a lot of shorts, and he's got things coming up all the time, and I'm on his email list too. But hearing that, just all I wanted to do was get my hours. And I was thinking I can do anything and everything within the spectrum of what y'all do. But, when they say, well, we don't know you from Adam, and no, you can't come in here. So when I got this gig over at the church, all I did was Googled churches locally. And I had one that they're actually a new church. They were building a new building, and they said, we're not going to start anything up until after the first of the year. Well, it was going to be too late. So then this other one, I was giving up, and I shotgunned my resume over to him, and he called me and said, can you come in this Sunday? And I spent 5 hours on a camera that day, and every time I'm there, it's 5 hours. So, and like I said, I had my hours done. I actually did the video also, the makeup video, but I still keep going back to the church and helping them out. So rejection is going to happen. We just how we deal with it, That's just how we deal with rejection is a personal thing, and I could say I could get upset, but it's not going to do me any good. It's not going to do anybody else any good. So the best thing to do is smile and move on to the next one.
Yeah, I hear you on that. Next question, Alan.
Yeah, that was a great answer, because this industry gives most times rejection. So just keep going with it. Keep going to the next job. Next is from Timothy. How do you maintain your drive throughout all these years? What gives you the motivation to keep wanting to do your next project?
I just like every day, it's getting out of bed and knowing that the good Lord's letting me put my feet on the floor and move forward. I'm not the most religious person, but I feel that, I get that opportunity to live my life, and every day is a different day, and every day is a different challenge. And I get to go out there and do it, whether I could reference this right back to the rejection. I could sit in my house and complain about rejection or move forward and go on to the next thing. My motivation is just because, again, I have a high bar that I set for myself. And if I fall below that, then I'm the one that's kicking myself before somebody else does. So I always try and give it my best. When I first got out of the Navy, in 26 years, I had one hiccup, 5 years before I retired. When I first got out of the Navy, though, I walked into different jobs other than that one that I walked out of, or different interviews, and just gave it my best. And then when I got hired with the Caterpillar dealership, I kind of set the bar too high for some of the recruiters that followed me, because I worked in that department. I went out and met every one of my managers in North Texas. This dealership is the largest one in the country, and I covered everything from Waco up to the Oklahoma border, and then from almost to Abilene to the Louisiana border. I was the recruiter that covered that entire territory for this dealership. When I moved into the training position, The guy that replaced me sat at his desk, and he had managers get upset because he would never go and talk to them. So you've got to really motivate yourself to set that bar where you want to set it. But the higher you set it and you meet it, the better you're going to be.
Yes. Yes, I hear you. That's a good one. Good answer. Some great answers. Great questions, guys, too. Next question, Alan.
Yep, this one is going to be from Drew. What types of films or styles of projects do you find yourself being hired for the most? And do you have a favorite type of job in the industry that you've done so far?
Well, I haven't gotten those jobs that I'm looking at, because I'm honestly going to tell you, I'm focusing on trying to get that grant because I want to do my documentary. But at this point, if somebody were to call me and ask me if I would come and be a PA tomorrow, I would go in there and do that, because it's going to be experience, and I'm going to be able to put my name in there. And they're going to say, hey, here's Bruce, and he's doing the job that we hired him for. And guess what? I have been an electrician since I was 18 years old. So if that gaffer needs some help, I'm going to be over there helping them too. I will do whatever I need to do. I have a very broad experience and in other careers. And I want to be able to show people that if they call me, I'm going to do the job, and I'm going to do it better than the guy that did it for him before. So
It's always got to be open to start, in any position so you can grow from there. But that's how you get the experience. So always telling our students that. Next question, Alan.
Just reading through a couple, because I think you answered a couple questions with that one. Let me see. Let's choose. Justin asks, if you have experience with this, of course he feels that that of course independent films and short films are more rewarding, but of course whenever you're talking about a consistent paycheck, we have corporate is kind of our bread and butter. So I guess he just wanted to talk about maybe the balance you would kind of reach at of which one you should do, you know what I mean? Sorry if that was confusing, but just trying to talk about that balance between what's fulfilling, but also what's pay the bills.
Well, if you've got an opportunity to pay the bills, pay the bills. Because, like I said, if a job came up tomorrow that said, hey, I want you to be a PA, well, I'm going to still be over here working on getting my grant money somewhere to do my documentary. I'm not going to say I'm not going to do this job because it's not the job I want. It's an industry job. If it's paying the bills, that's what's important, because I can grow from that. I'm not pigeonholing myself just because I take a job. I don't know if that makes any sense, but I think that, and that's in anything in life, but definitely in this industry, that people are going to know who you are if you go out there and you do a stellar job. You make a name for yourself. But if you're going to walk onto a set and they say you're a PA today, and then you tell them, no, that's not what I want to do. I want to do this job over here. Then you're not going to get called again. So pay the bills, and then you can still have that passion over here. Nothing's keeping you from doing that.
Yeah, and real quick, Alan, if you'll let me for a second, the reason I asked that question is because, like, just for our city and maybe some other people's cities as well, where we're not in the West Side or Atlanta, at Tyler Perry Studios or whatnot, if we're not in those big coastal places, then like, what do we do as videographers, as freelancers, cinematographers, whatever you want to call us? We have to do that corp work to put food on the table,
Absolutely.
heat in the homes, things of that nature. So therefore, because that's the situation I'm finding myself in, is to where you'll get 85 calls to work on a short film, and the best they can get you is like, man, we'll get you the best Domino's pizza you've ever had in your entire life as your catering. And that's about it. And you're like, that's fine. But also, I need to heat my home. I need to do this. I need to do that. So like, that's why I've steered more away from short films and documentaries and moved more into, oh, a drug company needs their commercial shot. Okay, let me go PA for that drug company or whatnot. You know what I mean? That's what I'm talking about.
Right. And there's nothing wrong with that. I mean, making commercials, if that's what's going to pay the bills, then do it. Because you're going to make a commercial in this program, you're going to make 3 of them. So,
yeah.
And I enjoyed that. I did it for a small business here in Watauga, and it was a friend. I did the one for class. I made her one more for the next holiday, and I told her that was her last free one. I shared my commercial with Fahad, and he said to find out because actually when I was down in Orlando last year, I was on a commercial shoot with Fahad, and so when I got my last one done, I sent it to him and I asked him to critique it and what would he charge if I was to offer that as a service. So he gave me a price starting out, X amount for the day rate, X amount for the day rate for editing. So now I've got to find some customers that are willing to give me that, but I'm willing to do that work. Another route, I don't know if you checked into it, is one of the local news stations. My wife's nephew actually came from California, and he's a cameraman for WFAA now. So it's nothing wrong.
Awesome.
Awesome.
I got a question.
All right. You good, Cassio? We can hear you.
Yeah, I was wondering, because I have shot like over 100 music videos in my day. I mean, I've been doing it for 10 years, and I want to switch it up, and I'm wondering, how do you go to PA? How do you make the transition, man? I may be late because I just got on here, and y'all probably already answered this question, but I just want to know how do you make that transition?
Well, a lot of people start as PAs, but check your local film commission. They may have a crew call list there, and you can put yourself out there that say, I'm willing to do these jobs, and they put you on the list. And then, of course, if things come up, whether it be a commercial shoot or a like they're shooting over here in the Fort Worth stockyards or over in the Dallas area, things that are going on. There's groups on Facebook too. We've got a Veterans in Media for one, but there's another one that's a Dallas film group that they're always looking for cast and they're looking for crew members on Facebook. So you put yourself out there, join these groups, and you're going to see these things come up. The last call that they had over in Dallas, I was actually getting ready. It's a shoot that was coming up, and I was out of town, so I couldn't respond. But if I'm available, and if it looks like it's going to fit my schedule, I'm going to shoot them a message and say, hey, I'm here, and this is my skill set. If you want to see my resume, if you want access to what I've got out on YouTube, here, I'm going to show you. So make this stuff available.
Okay, I'm out in the Dallas area, so yeah. Okay, I'm gonna try that.
Okay, well, you're in Dallas, and Justin's over there in Frisco, so I'm in Fort Worth.
Okay.
I wanted to ask, where are you in Dallas?
Sir?
I was gonna ask, where are you in Dallas? Are you on the
north
Dallas side of it?
Yeah, I'm in north
Dallas.
Yeah.
Respect, right on, man. Yeah, we should totally get together.
Yeah, man. Yeah.
Networking.
You said 100 music videos. I mean, that's going to be a hell of a portfolio right there.
Man, I have shot over 100 music videos. I haven't got the new camera that we're supposed to get in, and I'm waiting on that to do some groundwork with that. I really want to. I've shot festival, city, basketball tournaments. I did a lot of work, man.
100%. Yeah. Would you mind throwing your handle up in the chat for us real quick?
I can't understand you. My headphones.
Drop your email and your contact info, Cassio. Yeah, so y'all can network. That's perfect.
That's what it's about, gentlemen. I'm trying to find the group over in Dallas. Give me a second here. There's one on here, production freelance gigs on Facebook. Look that one up. But DFW, no, that's the photos. I'm sure I'm not going to find it now, but yeah, I've got too many groups here. So, but if anyone's a veteran, there is one. It's Veterans in Media Entertainment out there, and they're always looking for people too. Dallas Film Group, that simple. And right here, they've got one looking for a casting call. So that's on Facebook. There's groups out there. I definitely look them up.
Great stuff. Great stuff. Alan, is there any other questions? I think I see a couple more down here.
We do have a good one. This is from, let me bring it back up. Juliet, they wanted to talk about, and I know this could probably be a whole, essay about this topic. But how you kind of figure out that the grant was an option for you for wanting to do your own documentary, and maybe some of the ways that they could find resources like that in their state. Like, what process did you have to go through to learn about that?
Well, actually, I could say I could self-fund this, but again, I live off my retirement right now, so we're getting ready to move in a year, and I've got to make sure that happens. But in producing, Jen Miller has a whole lesson on. She gives a big paperwork on grants and getting the funding. She had mentioned she had gotten a $50,000 grant for production once, and there's different avenues out there for military veterans. You can reach out to Gary Siness Foundation. I actually have applied to his foundation for a grant, but there's other ones, different PBS things. It depends on the subject of what you're going to do. I researched online for different grants for specifically for my documentary. But there's crowdfunding, Kickstarter is one of them, but you don't want to set your bar too high for that one, because if you don't reach your goal in the amount of time allotted, then you don't get your money. Everybody gets their money back. So there's different ways to crowdfund. And like I said, I've taken Jen's resources, and I'm trying to grow them. And you don't want to just turn in a one-page grant request. This is something that you've got to plan out and really do your homework on. You want to make sure that you write up the strongest grant request that you can and really support it. I've actually getting my green screen set up, because when I do my pitch, it's going to be have some scenes and some footage from the fire, mostly still photographs of things that were happening, the smoke coming out of the stack and everything else. But I want to be able to put together a strong pitch and a strong paperwork package, because I don't want to give them something half-baked. I want to give them the strongest thing, and I want to make myself really competitive when I do it.
Nice. Awesome. These are some really great questions, everyone. Let's say we have time for maybe one more great question, if anyone has. Or Alan, did I miss any?
We do. Oh, yes. So I was about to ask your question. So Deborah wanted to ask, especially with your reaching out to your church for your industry hours, what was a good tip for getting into that door and actually putting yourself out there and say, hey, I'm here. I'd love to help out and learn as much as I can from you guys?
Well, for me, the way I found the church, I just went through a list of churches locally that I knew, I don't want to say are mega churches, but I knew they were big enough to have a camera crew. I mean, these guys have 3 services on Sunday. The first service is only 3 cameras, two stationary and one mobile. But then the other 2 services, they have 8 mobile cameras and the 2 stationary ones. And being I'm an old dude, I sit behind one of the stationary ones. But I just, like I said, I reached out to different churches, and when I found this one that actually responded in a positive manner, I called the church office and I asked to speak to their director of media, or minister of media. I don't know what they wanted to call him. And I got his voicemail, and I happened to get his email at the same time. So I left a message, and then I shot him my resume. Within an hour, he was texting me and asking me to if he could call me. We spoke for about 35 minutes, and then like I said, that next Sunday, I was standing at the church and got on their list, and now they call me when they need me, which has been about once a month. Get 5 hours a month in there, sometimes more. They had the National Day of Prayer. They called me to come run one of their cameras then. So just depends on what they need.
Is the church volunteer work, or is that paid?
It's strictly volunteer.
Okay.
Strictly volunteer. I mean, they do have some paid positions, but what I do is a volunteer. Their guy who runs the whole show, because this is the Hills Church in North Richland Hills. They've got 4 locations in the Metroplex, and that one, North Richland Hills, is their main one. The guy that runs it, he sets them all up. They're, like I said, the guy who does all the scheduling is, I don't think he's paid either. He might be, but then everybody, the switcher, the director, the lighting guy, the one who does all the titles, all the camera operators are volunteers. Most of them are members of the church. I'm probably the only one who's not a member of the church. So,
what kind of cameras do they use?
I'm running a Black Magic camera. I wish I still had a picture. Most of the mobile ones are pocket cameras, but I'm running a big broadcast Black Magic camera. This thing is a beast, and with the tally on it and everything else. You walk into a movie theater, a news studio. I'm that guy sitting behind the tripod with that big camera, and it's a lot of work, but it's a lot of fun.
That's super awesome. Super awesome. Yes, it's a lot of work at your local churches. I just got hit by my church actually, about some work today. So definitely check that out for our students looking for work. It's definitely a lot of work out there for that. Any other questions, Alan?
One final question, and it's a very broad question. But what's over your lifetime? What is one of the biggest things that you've learned whenever you're working, I guess specifically for this industry, but like what's one of the key things you would tell people to kind of learn to prepare for the rest of their career in this industry that helps you out every single day?
Well, just for I would say this is a career guidance. Do as much research on the company, on what you're going to be doing. If you're going to be, and we're going to reference back to the church, if you're going to run a camera for the church, go in there, listen to them when they describe the camera that you're going to be operating. Because I can tell you right now, I've never operated a camera like that before, not that big. This thing is probably, most of y'all have FX6s. This thing probably is 5 times as big as an FX6, and I can guarantee it weighs about 12 times more. But don't be afraid to get in there and operate it. Learn as much about it as you can. If they say we're going to be starting the service at 8:30, get there at 8 o'clock so you can start operating that camera right away. Get in there, change focus, change your focal length, change your frame rate, because we're changing frame rate during services constantly. If it's a talking head, it's a 60 frames per second. If it's music, it's 24 frames per second. So know how to do that. You got to know where these buttons are on the camera, and you don't want to walk in there and say, okay, I know about this. I own a camera and I can do this. Because I mean, they're not going to jump you about it, but if you're supposed to be doing a medium shot on the pastor, and you've got, and I have an experience with one classmate who was coming in extremely close up and they did it on their mini documentary. It was like this, constantly. Don't do that. Set your shot. You know, get that medium shot. And if it's supposed to be at 60 frames, make sure your camera's at 60 frames, because your director, he's got a board. He knows what's going on. So even the volunteers, they work their way into that position. So
awesome. All right. Well, thank you so much, Bruce, for your time today. Any final thoughts you want to leave with our students before we close up shop here?
Just one, and it's going to reference back to the question previous, with the volunteer pay position. If you have an opportunity to do a volunteer on, even if it's on a small shoot, you were saying, I think, Justin, that you got paid in pizza. If it's something you can put on your resume, do it, because it's not going to hurt you to have that experience, and somebody's going to want to see your resume. But if you don't have the experience to show, and you're claiming it, they're going to question that more than the experience that you do show on your resume. So
nice. Thank you so much, Bruce. We want to thank Bruce for giving us his time today. Remember, you will be able to check out the video if you tuned in a little later than you were planning to. The video will be up on our website. Thank you, Alan Harris, for the wonderful help today. Bob Truitt, thank you so much for doing all the great work you do for us and our students. Everyone, take care. We will have another session next month, so definitely stay tuned for those details.
I see a hand.
Let's
up.
keep this going. Let's keep
I
these
see
going.
I saw a hand up there.
You see a hand up?
Yeah, Joseph had his hand up there.
All right, Joseph. I guess since Bruce is allowing you to ask one more question, I'm gonna let it go. Come on the mic.
I actually wasn't going to ask a question, but I was just applauding and thanking you.
Oh, well, thank you.
Your service, shipmate. But since you are offering, during your service, do you have a favorite UIC or a favorite base that you went to?
I spent 7 years with a special boat unit. I was with the Special Boat Unit 11 until right before they decommissioned, and I loved it. We ran old Vietnam era boats, but being with Spec War was probably the most exciting. I spent time on a carrier, I spent time on river boats, I spent time on torpedo retrievers and maintenance with Minesweep, 9.5 years in recruiting, and finished it out on staff at a reserve center. So
that's fantastic.
So the Spec War Command.
Absolutely.
We were SWIC before SWIC became closed loop. So
okay, very good.
And that's actually my first short was on that, because 3 months before I retired, they asked me to pull my papers to go drive a boat in Iraq, and I told them no, thank you. So
wow. Well, thank you again for your service.
Thank you,
Bruce. I know you have some great stories, so definitely keep us posted on that documentary, my friend. All right, don't forget about us. We want to see that. We want to support it. All right.
No problem. I appreciate it, and thank you for having me. I was very, very honored when you reached out and said that you wanted to do this tonight. It's something that I did not want to pass up. I told you the other day, I don't shut up. So.
No, you killed it. We definitely, maybe we can have you back, a couple years down the road. You got some other stuff going. So, but yes, keep us posted, and we look forward to hopefully having you back here to talk to our students as well. All right.
All right. Thank you.
All right. Thank you. All right. Take care, everyone. Be blessed. We'll see you later. Thank you all for being here. You all killed it.
Thank you.
All right. Bye.
Thank you for having us. Appreciate it.
Yes.
Thanks again for a great month.